I'd love to help you get vulnerable. Let's get naked. Welcome to the Let's Get Naked podcast. Today we are getting vulnerable with my son, Wiley. He is my third and the baby of our family. He is 17 and a senior at Arcadia High School. And he's agreed to come chat with us today about all things teenage related, and wherever the conversation takes us, that's where we'll go. So welcome, Wiley. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I wanted to start with, I went around and asked people, what should I ask Wiley? What's important to have him discuss? And a lot of people brought topics to the situation that were like, okay, what's affecting teens nowadays, and so we'll get into a lot of that. What's it like to have Anne as your mom was a big part of that, and kind of, I want to talk a little bit about what that was like for you with me getting sober, and some of the things that our family has gone through. So I would love your perspective on that. Yeah. But Julio had a really important question that I want to get out of the way right away. He wanted to know how you got those biceps that way. So shout out to Julio. You actually don't have to answer that. That was a fun question,
thank you.
But yeah, Wiley is really dedicated to his fitness and is very disciplined. He plays football and basketball, and is a pretty amazing kiddo as far as that's concerned. So we can also talk about that. One of the things, let's just jump right in. One of the things that I think is important to talk about is I'd love to have you speak about peer pressure and how you manage that without compromising your values. Peer pressure, I think, for teens is probably a really big topic because it covers all sorts of different things. So how do you handle peer pressure, and what does that look like for you?
I mean, I feel like I haven't dealt with peer pressure, that much, but when you deal with it at first, kind of. For me, I don't drink or smoke, I don't use drugs or anything, but kind of as people kind of learn that more and more about you, they're less inclined to ask you or try to peer pressure you into doing something. And peer pressure it doesn't have to be just with substance abuse, obviously it can be with other things too. Mm-hmm. But I think if you just know who you are and just be yourself, the most important thing about it is just not being afraid of being yourself, Mm-hmm. I feel like being yourself is the best advice you can give to someone. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
No, I think that's excellent, and like you said, I think once you take a stand for what you believe in, I think people will get off your back and leave you alone. I think if people are pressuring you to do things that are outside of what you're comfortable with or what your values are, and you give in to them, I think you're easier to be the target for that going forward, And I think peer pressure isn't just something that teenagers deal with and kids deal with. I think even adults deal with that, If somebody's like, hey, why aren't you drinking? And, for me, when I got sober, people would be like, hey, why don't you have a drink with me? I'm like, no, I don't drink. It's like, oh, come on, have a drink with me. It's like, why is what I do so important to you? And it's the same thing. If you can stand up for yourself when other kids are like, hey, Wiley, come do this or come do that and whatever, if it doesn't feel right, standing up for yourself and saying no, I'm good, and not letting people tell you what your values are. Mm-hmm. You know what your values are, you know?
And I also think just hanging around the right crowd, the right people, if you're with the right group, they're not going to peer pressure you. They're not going to push you out of your boundaries or force you to do things you don't want to do. Yeah. So I think it's also surrounding yourself with the right people.
Yeah. Do you find that I know drinking and smoking and drugs and stuff in high school is a big thing. Do you find that obviously you go to parties and obviously you're around it and that kind of stuff. Do you find that people really care about that for you, or they just know that that's not your jam and they don't bug you about it anymore after you kind of laid the groundwork for that?
I feel like people don't really care. Even before you lay the groundwork, it's not
people don't care if you're doing it or not.
Yeah. Right. They're just there to have fun.
Right. It's more for me, right?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think people generally stay in their lane about that. Yeah. They figure that out. They're like, all right, we're not going to push it. But even before that, it doesn't really get pushed on you. I feel like I don't know. I feel like it's a misconception, or at least from my experiences, maybe other people get peer pressured more. But from my experiences, I feel like I haven't really been peer pressured that much. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I feel like it's a big misconception that peer pressure is like just teenagers.
Right.
You know, like you were saying, it's adults too. So
right.
I feel like it's bigger in adult population than teenagers.
Okay.
But I haven't experienced it, so like I can't really say, like, I don't know.
Is there a time that sticks out to you that you felt like you were peer pressured a lot, where it was something where you were like, I don't want to do this? And you don't have to, like, I'm not asking you to rat anybody out. I'm just, as an example, was there something where, you know, people were putting you in a position where you were feeling uncomfortable, or, you know, you were being pressured to do something that you really didn't want to do?
I mean, really. I don't really have like a time that sticks out. I know times where people have like asked me to try something and I'll just be like, no, and they just kind of stop.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like they're egging on, like, come on, try it, and then you're like, nah.
Well, one of the things that you said too about just being comfortable with who you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think is the biggest thing for kids. And I don't understand, I don't know the right way to tell kids and to encourage kids to be more who they are instead of trying to be something that they think other people want.
Yeah.
What a waste of time, you know, be true to who you are and what resonates with you. And that doesn't mean that you can't do different things or try different things, you know, that doesn't mean you have to walk a certain path, but be comfortable with who you are and be comfortable to stand up for that to other people. I think that that's really important, and I think people will respect you more. You know, people know that you're very disciplined about your stuff and that this is who you are and whatever, and I appreciate you being comfortable enough to stand in that truth. I also think you're excellent at helping other kids be themselves. You know, do you feel like that's a fair statement?
I mean, I try to. I mean, I don't really have like a good example or a situation where I've like directly helped someone, but like I try to like preach that if I can, like just be yourself. Don't be afraid of like being authentic and like true to you, you know?
Yeah.
And also like kind of back to the peer pressure I was thinking, I feel like people are more inclined to peer pressure you if you don't say like, what's the right word? Like, if you're talking kind of uneasy and like hesitant, you know, if they're like, try this, you're like, like if you even hesitate and like give thought into it, you're more susceptible like to peer pressure. So they're like going to try to peer pressure you if you even think about it.
Yeah.
But if you're like a firm no, I feel like they kind of just like let off.
I think you're absolutely right. I think, you know, if you show weakness in that situation, they smell blood in the water and they're going to come for you.
Yeah, they just keep attacking you, you know?
Exactly.
So, yeah.
What, one of the things that we were talking about that kind of tied in was the, you know, helping people realize who they are and stand up for their values. But the other side of that is kind of bullying. Is that something that we still see nowadays? I know that when I was growing up, it was a lot of, you would see kids that got bullied, right? Because we didn't realize kind of the effects of what that looked like, or maybe people weren't paying attention to that, or whatever the right answer is for that. Yeah. What do you see with bullying in your school and in your groups of people?
I feel like at Arcadia, it's generally pretty good. I mean, you don't really see bullying or like fighting or any of that nature. I mean, sometimes people will be making jokes to other kids, but it's generally like friends. So it's like you don't really see it as bullying, you know? Like you'll see like just like friendly back and forth between friends. But I haven't really seen many instances where it's like hate crime or like harmful actions taken against someone else. So I feel like Arcadia is generally pretty good about that. Coconino was pretty good about that. So I feel like the schools I've been to are generally pretty good about bullying and like fighting and all that.
What do you think is one of the biggest things that you and your friend group deal with? That it could be anything, right? What is a thing that's a topic that you guys talk about that you worry about, or you know, think about or talk about? Like what's a big deal for you guys nowadays?
I think now that we're coming close to our senior year and like coming close to graduation, it's a lot of like, what are we going to do after high school? You know, like what jobs are we going to get? What colleges are we going to go to? Are we going to play sports in college? Just like what our goals after high school are. It's a lot of kind of like, so me and my friends were talking about like, getting jobs, moving in together, saving up, then like eventually getting our own houses and everything. So it's kind of just like a lot of our goals after high school and what we want to do now that we're getting close to graduating.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. That's excellent. I know you're just down to a few months now which seems crazy. You're going to be 18 in a couple of weeks, and then that's also crazy. Talk to me about relationships and that you have, could be friends, could be otherwise, could be anything, and how you establish healthy boundaries in those.
I think communication is the most important part. I know that sounds like it's like a general saying, but
no, it's excellent.
It is true.
Yeah.
Like with my girlfriend, we have a great like communication with each other. So I think that kind of helps set boundaries, and also like sometimes if we're talking or like, I'm trying to think of a good example, but the other day she was like kind of telling me, or she was going to say something, and then she's like, actually, never mind. And whenever she does that, I get kind of mad, and then I'm like, please just tell me. Right. And then she's like, if she's like, no, I don't want to, or like, just respect my boundaries. Mm-hmm. If she ever says that, then I stop. I just set it down. I'm like, okay.
Right.
Because like, just like hearing those words, it kind of just like flips, and you're like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
You know?
That's incredible that you guys are able to have the language to do that. You know, I don't think I even had the understanding of that when I was a teenager, to say like, hey, respect my boundaries.
Yeah.
You know, so I feel like even in that we've come a long way of, hey, no. This is a firm no. I'm not telling you that, or whatever it is. Like, you know, get out of my business.
Yeah.
So, do you feel like you have to have boundaries with friends as well, or is it more of just in a you know, girlfriend boyfriend relationship?
I mean, I feel like you should have boundaries with friends, but it's like I feel like it's more prominent in those like dating relationships. Mm-hmm. You know, like with your friends, they kind of. I don't know. I just don't really feel myself like setting boundaries with them. Like we know each other pretty well.
Yeah.
It feels
just all chill.
Yeah.
Bet. Who taught you these amazing boundaries that you know?
You.
What?
Yep.
This is excellent.
Yeah.
This is excellent.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking like before the podcast.
Yeah.
So I know it's all about like kind of parenting, self-help and all that. Mm-hmm. And like, yeah, you can come on here and talk about parenting, kind of those experiences you've done in parenting to like kind of teach to people. But I was thinking it's like cool to have like your kids on it, like me, eventually Brittany, Emily on it. 'Cause that's like, what better way to like show your parenting than like having your kids on here, you know?
Right. Yeah. Well, and also, you know, when I bring you guys on, it's not like, oh my God, look at all of these things that I did right. Yes, I did a bunch of things right with you, and that's why you're a great kid, and with the girls too.
Yeah.
But I'm vulnerable enough to share also all of the things that I did wrong.
Yeah.
You know, because we all make mistakes, and we all are just doing the best that we can, you know? Yeah. And so it's interesting to look at the evolution of our family, you know, and kind of, I look back at things that I've implemented or things that your dad implemented that, you know, have really made our family be better, you know, implementing the trigger fish, you know?
Yeah.
And you know, for our listeners, you know, we had something that happened several years ago where the girls were living together, our two older daughters were living together, and they were at each other. They didn't get along great at that time, and they were at each other. And so we just kind of implemented a thing in our family where if someone is talking about something that's, you know, making somebody else uncomfortable, or they're you know, crossing a boundary, or like whatever that is, we installed like a safe word in our family where if you say triggerfish, it shuts the conversation down, you know? And that's
unless if you're dad.
Unless if you're dad, then he doesn't understand boundaries. We're working on him. He's an old dog, and I'm trying to teach him new tricks. But you know, we had a contract and we signed it, and everybody had to be part of that. But I think that you know, things like that do make us a better family, because then it's not, you can't just mow over somebody's boundaries for things. Yeah. It's a respect thing, and it's an understanding that like, hey, I'm not in a place right now to be able to talk about whatever that is that we're going into.
Yeah. So, and like how we were talking about boundaries earlier, I feel like implementing that kind of, yeah, sure, that's in our family, but that also just teaches you the fundamentals of boundaries, and you can carry that over into your like relationships outside of your family.
Yeah, no,
so I feel like that's like an important kind of learning experience.
Yeah. No, I think that that's really important. So for the listeners at home, I think a big thing that happened in our lives or in our story in our family is that 8 years ago I got sober, and I started on this path of really discovering who I am and learning all of the things. And, you know, Wiley had a front row seat to what that looked like. And so as I was developing emotional intelligence, as I was unpacking things and figuring things out, reprogramming things, I would share that with Wiley, age appropriate, obviously, if that's a thing. So, you know, what does that look like from your side of things? And please feel free to be completely vulnerable, and there's nothing that's off limits. But what does that look like for you? I mean, 8 years ago would have made you 9.
Yeah.
Right. So
I mean, I remember living at Bernil. Mm-hmm. You got back from rehab in California, and it was like right before Thanksgiving, right around this time of year.
It was this time of year, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think just like seeing you go through that journey. Well, originally seeing you before sobriety definitely kind of installed in me like drinking is bad. It kind of like pushed me away from that, which is kind of why I'm like so strict against it today. Not drinking. And then like you were saying, you kind of going through that and sharing all that like through your journey of sobriety kind of like I feel like helped me kind of emotionally, and it teaches me like it's okay to be vulnerable, it's okay to open up about certain things, you know. So I think it just kind of installed a lot of good values, and that it's like the whole kind of man stereotype is like, oh, you have to be tough, you have to kind of grit through things. If you're going through something, just like keep it to yourself, bottle it up, but it's okay to talk about stuff, it's okay to open up.
Right.
I think that's something I've learned from you, and like you going through that journey and just helping us with that.
Yeah. No, and it's okay to show emotion. It's okay to, you know, express yourself. It's okay to talk about the things that you're scared of or the things that you're excited about, or, you know, all of the things. I think you and I have a great relationship, and also just in our family, being able to talk about things that are messy, you know. There's no shame in going through any of that stuff. The real shame is hiding things, you know, not being comfortable to speak about things. And so there's nothing at our house that's off limits, which, good news, bad news, there's nothing at our house that's off limits.
Yeah. Blessing and a curse.
Exactly. Blessing and a curse. You know, I was talking to somebody, and they were talking about one of their kiddos speaking to them about something, and it made them really uncomfortable. And I said, do not shut that down. Like, you be uncomfortable internally if you need to while they talk to you about that, but you should be talking with your kids about things that make you uncomfortable. You know, you don't want them to be carrying all of those burdens. I think our kiddos nowadays deal with way more challenges than we ever did. You know, the what social media brings to the table, what you know, violence in schools, right, with gun shootings and things like that. I mean, these are big stuff that you guys are dealing with. It's not just like who's picking on who and what classes or this or that, or, you know, drugs and alcohol. The drugs nowadays are scary AF. You know, it's, you try something and you just have to try it the one time. You know, this is not how this used to be when I was growing up. You would get like dank weed from, you know, gross places, and, you know, it's just a totally different ball game now, you know. So as parents, it's pretty scary, you know, and the people that prey on other people on you know, social media and on other platforms, you give your kid this computer that they carry around in their pocket that they can get into more trouble than you can even imagine. Yeah. You know, tell me about what you think the effect of social media has on you and your friend group, you and your age group, for stuff.
I mean, for me and my friend group, I feel like we're generally, with social media as a whole, I feel like its main problem is people start comparing their self to others. And the problem with social media is everything that's posted, like, people just post good.
Of course.
You're not going to see people post the bad or the down parts of their life. So you're going to look at these influential people that are only posting positive pictures of them, like, looking good, and you're going to compare yourself to that. And I feel like that just kind of messes with you mentally. You're like, why is my life so bad compared to theirs? It's like they have bad stuff going on in their life too. Yeah. you know, like you're comparing your worst to another person's best. And it's just like, if you compare everything you have going and you compare everything they have going, it's probably not that big of a difference, you know?
Right.
So I feel like people just get fed up in comparing themselves to others. And I feel like it's more like prominent with girls.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like guys definitely do it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and also, I think we've said this in our house for a long, long time. As soon as you compare yourself to somebody else, you lose. And it doesn't matter in what category. It doesn't matter if you're better than them, if you're worse than them, you know, if you're in whatever the topic is. I don't mean like better than them as a human being, but just like whatever that thing is, a sport or the other thing, if you're better than them or worse than them, it doesn't matter. As soon as you compare yourself to somebody else, you lose. Yeah. Right? So to me, it's always like being in competition with yourself. And I know that you subscribe to that same thing, right? Your competition is your yesterday Wiley. You know, what does yesterday Wiley bring to the table, and how can I improve on that? You know, and I think if more people took that approach in their lives, not only athletically, but mentally, things that you're learning, how are you going to be better at things? If you really took that approach to your life, I think you'd find that it would fix a lot of problems, you know, rather than sitting around and comparing yourself to what Sheila has or what Sally is doing, or, you know, what Michelle has, you know, what she's wearing, or what vacation she was able to do. Who cares? Yeah. You know, so, you know, for me, I don't know how to make an impact in that way of teaching our young girls. That's not the right way to get your validation, you know, or to try to make yourself feel better about things, because putting somebody down, which is also, you know, something that women, I think, do more than men do, but putting somebody down to feel better is false. That gives you a quick little hit for a second because you think, oh, I'm better, or I'm prettier, or I have nicer teeth, or skinnier thighs, or who even cares what it is? Yeah. But that's a trap. You know what I mean? That's not real. So, you know, how we teach our young girls to not be so twisted up in comparing themselves, you know. And if there's a listener out there that's listening that has information on this, or has a source, you know, real knowledge or education behind how to do that, please reach out to us and come be on the podcast and share that knowledge, because I think for our youth, we're not doing them any favors by letting them just have social media and run amok. You know, it's
I think just in like future generations, you know, we just need to teach like our kids that, like in our household, like we say, like as soon as you compare yourself to someone else is when you lose. I think just hearing that from a young age and growing up with that in my mind kind of is why I don't compare myself to others. Yeah. So I think just teaching that to someone at a young age is very important. And I feel like that's kind of like you can't really like solve the problem with that. People are still obviously going to compare. So I don't think there's a way to just effectively end it. But I think just teaching more about it and being more open about it, just having conversations like these is what kind of helps with that situation.
Right. And teaching kids from a young age their self-worth, right? Yeah. I mean, I look at some of that and I watch certain parents that are really good at that. As parents, it's not just our job to like get them food and shelter and medical attention and education, really shaping them to be the adults that they're going to be by instilling, you know, values and self-worth in them so that they can go out into the world and be amazing instead of anxiety-ridden, which, you know, anxiety is a rough one. I think that it's everywhere because of social media more so than anything else, because again, it's comparing things. It's making people afraid to go try things, or, you know, people are so afraid to fail that they won't even try. Go swing for the fence. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, let her rip. Yeah. Failing is part of it, you know? Then you dust yourself off and get back up and you learn from it, you know? How do we teach that to our young kids? You know, to just, you want to try something, you give it hell. Yeah. You know, full send that. Yeah. And if it doesn't work out, okay, then what's next? But that's what life is about, you know? Everyone's so scared to even try anything that they're stuck, you know, paralyzed, stuck on the couch, or stuck not living their life. Go do the things, you know, get out there. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. We talked about social media. Let's see. Talk to me about the school shootings thing. That was something that happened a couple weeks ago. Pretty recently, where you guys had to do a lockdown for that. Tell me about how that went down for you and what emotions that maybe brought up for you.
I mean, at first I was like I don't know, I was just confused because before I knew anything about the threat, I'll just take you to kind of my thought process.
Well, set up the stage. Sorry to interrupt. Set up the stage and say, like, what happened. So you're at school, and then, like, how do you even know that there's an issue?
Okay. So I'm just walking to class after third hour, and then the lockdown, like, alarm went off. Like, it was different than the fire alarm. So everyone was, like, kind of confused when it, like, started. We're like, what's going on? Because normally when there's lockdown drills, it's like we're in class. It's not during passing period, and the teacher usually tells you, like, it's a drill. But then this time it's, like, actual alarms. And I just see, like, people running, and I was like, is this real? Mm-hmm. And then the security guard is, like, he's shouting at everyone. He's like, get to your class. And I was still walking. Like, I was just confused. Like, everyone was running, and I was just, like, walking to class. I was, like, looking around. I didn't know what was going on. But then I was like, this is, like, an actual problem. So then I start, like, jogging, start running. I get to my class, and the door's, like, locked. And there's, like, one class across the hall that's still open. And, like, come in here. So then I get in there, and I'm just waiting in that class. A few of my friends were in there, so we're just, like, talking kind of about what was going on. And everyone is, like, slowly learning that it wasn't a drill and that it was, like, a real thing. But then I think there was, like, an email sent out by, like, the principal or someone that kind of just said it was, like, it was a threat from overseas. Like, the police looked into it, mm-hmm. and then they just released us back. Mm-hmm. So it was, like, I don't know, I was just confused at first, and then I just ran to class. I was a little scared about what was going on.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we've had threats like that, like fake threats like that in the past, mm-hmm. so I wasn't, like, too concerned.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how concerned are you?
Like, now? Or
no, like, when it was happening. Be honest.
Like a 2 or 3.
A 2 or 3?
Yeah.
Do you know where I was?
At 11.
At 11. Yeah. At 11 on a scale of 1 to 10, yeah. You know? And your dad's so funny because he was at my office when I got the texts and the emails, that phone calls and stuff that came across that said that something was going on there. And it literally, as a mom, it takes me to an 11 immediately. Yeah. Because it's the most helpless feeling on the planet. It's something's happening at your kid's school. They're in lockdown. We will keep you posted. And then the minutes tick by. And I swear to God, it is the worst feeling on the planet.
Yeah.
You know, I cannot, this is a big problem. I don't have the answers, obviously, but I'm happy to have you be graduating high school, because I would not want to be at the beginning of sending kids to school because it feels like you're feeding them to the wolves. You know, when we were up in Flagstaff, this is a couple years ago, there was something that was going on then where, you know, they had threats and everyone was scared to send their kids to school. And I think that was the day when you said, like, half the kids weren't even at school, you know, and I'm taking you to school to drop you off. And I dropped you off and drove away and just bawled all the way home, you know, because it's like, what's the right answer, right? You can't not send your kids to school, right? But it's literally the most helpless feeling on the planet, because you know what happens, right? We know what happens during those kind of things, you know?
Yeah, it can be anyone.
Was everyone like, what was the vibe in that classroom? Was the teacher freaked out? Were the students freaked out? Was everybody pretty calm? And it's like, this is what we're doing? Or like, what is that vibe like?
Everyone was kind of just like circled with their friends, talking on their phone. I mean, there wasn't really like a panicked vibe. Yeah. It was kind of just like, I don't know, in my corner it was me and a few friends, and we were just like laughing, having a great time.
You heard it first, folks. This is, I mean, just the parents at home are like at an 11, and the kids are just having a free hour, enjoying their time.
I mean, I feel like I don't want to say people have gotten used to it.
No, well, you get numb to it a little bit, you know?
We've had like 4 or 5 threats this year where nothing's happened. So everyone just thinks it's like fake at this point, you know? Like the first few threats, it's just like pictures that like resurfaced, and they're like, people just posted on their story, and then the school, I think by law, is like has to look into it, even though it's like not really a big thing. It's just like a fake threat.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just I think in high school it's probably happened close to 10 times.
Yeah.
Like Coconino and Arcadia combined for me.
Right.
So it's just fake. I don't know.
Well, it's not fake, but
it's not fake.
I mean,
but
don't treat it that way. Don't treat it that way because it's serious, and God forbid that ever is a thing. Because also, like, you're going to go off to college and like that happens. Excuse my language. I'm trying to keep it PG, folks, with the minor child in case other kiddos are listening. So please forgive me. But stuff like that happens in college. So that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dang. Okay. Can you please teach me a few slang words? What did we learn? Oh, pod. So when Wiley was trying to figure out where to come to the podcast studio this morning, he says, "Where's the pod? Where's the pod at?" And he wanted to let me know that.
Well, I thought that was like your slang.
Well, so I mean, it is now. It is now. So as you teach me things, I'm all ears. So for Auntie Caitlin at home, what would that look like for any new words that you might have? For her, anything new that we could share with her, or that's not really a thing?
I don't know. I haven't really been learning any new lingo recently.
Okay, well, I respect that. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Now I just have some questions. Everyone sent in some questions that they'd like you to answer if you don't mind.
All right.
Okay. Imagine you try out for something important like a sports team or a school play, but you don't make it. How would you feel, and what would you do next?
How long do I have to think about these answers?
No, you don't have time. That's just how would you feel and what would you do next? You don't make the team. What does that look like? You know what that looked like last year. What did that look like?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like you'd be like sad at first, but you kind of just have to like turn that and kind of use it as fuel to just like improve yourself. Mm-hmm. Just like get better for next year, Yeah. So I feel like just using it as motivation is the best thing you can do with it, so that there's like you come out positive,
Yeah. No, I remember that. Do you remember that? That wasn't that long ago that happened, where we had the snafu going into your basketball season.
Yeah.
And we thought you weren't going to get a play. Luckily that worked out, but we thought you weren't going to get a play. And I remember being so proud of you because you were very disappointed at first. Mm-hmm. And then very quickly, from where I was sitting, you turned that around and said, all right, I'm going to spend the whole entire time grinding it out and getting better so that I can come back in my senior year and just crush it,
Yeah. Then we got to play. So.
And then you got to play, so which was excellent. But it's like, I look at that and I think that's impressive to me. For a young person to have that mentality and that attitude towards things, that was impressive for me. There's a lot of moments with you and with your sisters where I see how you guys react to certain things. And even if it's something that you're bummed out about and you kind of have to get back up and whatever, it blows my doors off to see how cool you guys are and how impressive that is. I hope that that's, something that you continue to be an example for your friends and for other people. I am very fortunate to have the young people in my life that I do. I have nieces and nephews that are amazing that also come from that same place of like, okay, that didn't work out. What's next?
Yeah.
Because again, failure is what you make of that. You can either learn the lesson from that and dust yourself off and get back up and then turn yourself into whatever you're going to, or you can let that keep you down.
You don't fail until you give up.
Yeah, you don't fail until you give up. You've got some good nuggets.
Yeah.
Where do you learn all of these things?
TikTok.
Oh, TikTok. Well,
yeah.
Sorry, Cameron. I thought it was you and I that were bringing some good stuff to the table, but
no. I learned some of that from you, but
okay, we get a little bit of it.
Yeah, like certain quotes I'll like pick up from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, just checking. Here's another scenario. You ready for another one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Who like sends these?
I'm not telling you. That's none of your business. I've got a team of people behind the scenes that are. One of them sitting over there getting ready to maybe turn the air conditioning down just a couple of clicks so I don't sweat my rear end off. Okay, so your best friend tells you a secret that's really serious, like they're struggling with something big and need help. They beg you not to tell anyone. What do you do?
Like suicide-wise?
Well, I don't know. It could be. That's a big one.
I feel like if it's like suicide-wise, you tell someone.
You tell someone. That's a big deal.
But if it's like personal life stuff, I'd like keep it a secret. If it's like something where I'm concerned about their mental health, I would tell their parents, like check in on them. But if it's like not related to that, I wouldn't tell anyone.
Have you dealt with that, with suicide, with any of your friends? I know that you haven't lost anyone to suicide, but have you dealt with any of them like being suicidal where you were worried and you needed to say something?
Yeah. Like back in Flagstaff, one of my friends was suicidal. And I told his parents, and he's doing better now.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
He was like, I don't know, he was afraid to tell his parents because he like felt like they wouldn't care if he told them. And, like he felt like they didn't like love him. But I told his parents, and he's doing a lot better.
Excellent.
Yeah.
What is the vibe with you and your age group as far as suicide is concerned? Is that a topic that people talk about? Is that, something where people talk about mental health and stuff that when people are struggling, and, would you even know that? Or is that where you hear stories of people doing that and you didn't even know they were struggling?
I mean, it's not really a topic in my friend group. And I feel like it's kind of like, people kind of, it's like an eerie feeling if you talk about it, so no one really brings it up. Oh. But like no one in my friend group has those thoughts from what I know.
Okay.
But you don't really talk about it much unless if someone's like actually going through it and they're thinking about it.
But you like in the instance of up in Flagstaff, that friend told you, and they felt comfortable enough with you to talk about that.
Yeah.
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 Right. So it's important to be comfortable to talk to people about that kind of stuff, so that you can be, if they're reaching out to you, if they're saying something to you, it's because they're desperate, and they're not in a good place. That's something to always take very, very seriously. Somebody's mental health, or if they're talking about suicide or not,
Yeah.
All of that. That's a scary conversation. Okay, let's see. Imagine someone at school spreads a rumor about you that isn't true. It feels like everyone is talking about it. How would you handle that? I don't even think you need to imagine. I think we can talk about actual data.
I mean, from my experiences, I just kind of, there's not really much you can do about it. You can like say your side of the story, obviously, but that won't help much if like everyone kind of already has this thought ingrained in their mind. So you kind of just got to sit and let it pass, like people are going to forget about it eventually. Like that's just, the world's going to move on. You just kind of have to get over it, not let it consume you. Just again, stay true to yourself. What's actually going on. So I feel like that's more important. So I feel like in a situation like that, you just kind of have to let it pass. Eventually, everyone's going to move on and forget about that,
It's important, I think, as you say the things that you're saying, for you to be comfortable with who you are, right? And to also know that other people's opinions of you is none of your business.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So even though people are going to talk, and even though there's going to be chatter about stuff, it's not your job to fix what they think about you, or to go, do damage control and make sure that, so-and-so likes me, or so-and-so think it is what it is.
It's like I'm not who you think I am, or not. It's bad way to put it, but it's like I'm not who your like opinion is of me. You know?
Right.
Like who you really think I am I could be someone like completely different, just because everything gets twisted up.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just being solid in who you are.
Yeah, just being, again, back to like being yourself and being true to who you are. I feel like that's kind of just a recurring theme. It's very important to have in your life.
How do you encourage other people to be that way? Like, what is your advice for either parents or other kids to like encourage people to be themselves and be who they are, and not feel like they have to fit into some mold? I think when I was, your age and younger, that was really important that you like fit in, right? Yeah. And now I look at it and it's like, who would want to fit in? That's terrible. Be unique. Be who you are, bring your flair to things. Who wants to everybody be the same? That's so boring, How do you encourage that though? I see all of your friends and all of the people that you pal around with, and I think all of them are doing their own thing, which is awesome. They're all individuals. They all have their own styles, their own, all of the things, which is awesome. So I'm assuming that you guys just encourage that without even realizing that you really do, by not bullying each other or by not making fun of each other.
Yeah.
But is there something else that you do that kind of would fit into that category, or not really, just be who you are?
I mean, not
like
really.
I hear you encouraging other people, other kids and other like whatever. It's pretty impressive to listen to from the outside. I know I know now as I'm asking you, like, what do you do? I'm putting you on the spot, right? But like I watch you.
It's hard to think of like an exact moment, but
sure.
I mean, I think just rather than telling someone, I think just being yourself is the best way to like show someone that they can be themselves too. Like you can talk all this, you say be yourself. It's not that hard. But if you go put yourself in uncomfortable situations and be yourself, other people will see that and they'll take that away from that. So I feel like actions speak louder than words.
It's almost like leading with vulnerability is what it feels like.
Yeah.
By putting yourself in uncomfortable situations and being yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that's cool.
Yeah.
Also, the other thing that I think you have in spades is you're very complimentary of other people. You're a good cheerleader. You're a good motivator. I watch you on the sports teams that you're on, and you're that guy that's always like encouraging people and lifting them up. And I watch that, and I think that's an excellent skill, right?
Yeah.
Like I do that for a living. That's what I do for a living. Which I absolutely love, because I think, when people realize that feeds your soul instead of being the negative person or the person that's, talking about somebody behind their back or whatever, don't do that. That doesn't make anybody feel good, know? What is that saying? Say bad things to my face, but say good things behind my back. You know what I mean? I want my friends to be able to like tell me the hard stuff to my face, but behind my back, there's not a single person in my life that isn't somebody that is my hype person, that says good things behind my back. That doesn't mean that there's not bad things to say about me. Of course there is, but, and really fostering that within your friend group. Because if you stand for having friends that are talking crap about other kids and whatever, you're complicit with them, So being able to really foster an environment with your group of encouraging other people and, letting them be them and all of that. I think that's awesome. I think it's easier to do with boys than it is with girls, so pretty happy you're a boy. The two girls almost broke me, so being what feels like on easy street, I appreciate you. I always knew you would be, but thank you. Let's see. You notice a classmate who seems really lonely and upset. They're not someone you normally talk to. How would you handle it?
Like, how close am I with this classmate?
You're not.
Like,
you're not.
Not at all.
You're not. You see someone and they look like they're lonely and upset. You just walk on by or you do something about it. And be honest, because if it's, God is watching.
I'm going to be honest. I think sometimes I've definitely just passed and moved on.
Okay.
Because I don't really know this person. Certain times, I mean, I feel like there's been like a few times where I've like asked someone if they're good, but I mean, in a situation, if you're like, "Yo, are you good?" They'll just be like, "Yeah, I'm fine."
Yeah.
Because people aren't gonna like open up to a random stranger.
Right.
So, I'm gonna be honest. I've definitely passed.
Definitely passed him by. Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's see. A group of friends wants to do something you're not comfortable with, like skipping school or breaking a rule. They tell you it's no big deal and everybody does it. What would you do?
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Simple as that. Just, they're skipping school, just go to class. Let them skip. You're
having a hard time making eye contact right now, boss.
No, I'm not.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Okay, let's see. You see someone being bullied at school, but the bully is popular and you're worried about becoming a target if you speak up. What would you do?
Defend him,
I know you would defend him. I believe that.
Yeah,
I believe that. I've watched that happen.
Yeah,
I've watched that happen with you, and it's impressive to me. I want to defend the underdog. Like for me, that's important to me in life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like if they're a popular kid, that shouldn't matter. Like, like whoever's bullying them, you should defend them no matter who it is. It could be the president for all I care.
Yeah.
You should stick up for them no matter what.
Okay.
I feel like their status shouldn't take in effect to that.
Right. That's not the important part of that, but definitely standing up for somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember the last time you did stand up for somebody and what that felt like?
I don't remember. Like,
that's okay. That's okay.
An exact time.
It's a lot of putting you on the spot. So I don't want you to feel like, I don't want you to feel uncomfortable about that. Yeah. I mean, mildly uncomfortable, but not too uncomfortable.
No, I'm feeling great.
Okay. Are you? You're good? You're doing great so far.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're doing excellent. Okay, now we're going to a couple more questions here. And I don't know who these came from. I have a team of people. They put this together, and now I'm just reading questions to you.
All right.
What is your fondest memory of each of your parents? Doesn't have to be your fondest. Could be just a fond memory.
What does fondest mean?
I'm not speaking teenager. Best memories. Like, what's a memory of you and Dad that's like that sticks out to you?
Yeah, it can be something that just sticks out.
Yeah. Fondest or sticks out. Yeah.
All right.
Fondest equals sticks out.
No, it'll be like a good memory, but I mean, I definitely have a lot of great memories with Dad. Mm-hmm. I feel like just any time where it's just like him and me, you excluded. No offense.
No, none taken.
But I feel like just any times where it's just Dad and I where we can like bond are like good times. Like especially, I feel like the most obvious answers would be like fishing and like hunting and all that. But I think just like going to Coronado, being able to throw the football with him, run routes while he throws. Mm-hmm. Even though his shoulder's like messed up, he's still out there throwing with me, which is awesome. Yeah, it's a good feeling. So I think just being with him is good times, or like sitting in the living room with him while he's like watching a movie with him. Like let's say you're on a girls' trip, just we'll both sleep on the couch. I feel like that's
at our house. If I'm not home, it's a picnic or it's a sleepover in the living room. So which is awesome.
Yeah,
which is awesome.
I think definitely like just those special moments where let's say you're on a girls' trip or you're not home and we can just talk and it's good.
I love that.
Yeah, and then best memory with you. Right now is pretty good. This is pretty
fun.
Oh,
I love it.
Yeah.
This is a good one for me too.
But I don't know. I feel like it's definitely a lot harder with you like sitting right here. Like with Dad, it's easy, but like here it's like I don't know what to say.
Right. That's okay. This is a good answer for right now.
But again, just like any time where Dad isn't there, I feel like if it's just you and the one other person, it's easier to bond, you know?
Yeah.
But I can't really think of like any really specific time.
Okay. No, this is a good one. This is a good one.
I feel like my favorite is definitely like, or here's a good one that sticks out. It's just like when we were going to, before I could drive still, and he'd take me to school every day at Coconino, where it was like a 30-minute drive. I feel like just those car rides, like talking, just like I feel like our conversations are always like good.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like we never really have like bad or like dry conversations.
No. Full of everything is our conversations for certain.
So I feel like car rides are with you, especially going to school and like coming back. Definitely like good bonding moments. So I feel like that's definitely a good memory.
I had a hard time when you started driving, not because of being worried about you. You're an excellent driver. You're the best driver in our family.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly. Like, I think everyone knows that. But yeah, I had a hard time with that just because I wasn't going to have the opportunities to be able to spend, I mean, it was at a minimum an hour a day because it was 30 minutes in, 30 minutes out.
Yeah.
Sometimes more depending on if there were sport stuff. But yeah, that was important time that I lost.
Yeah. Now it's like, when I get to ride with you, you cherish those moments more.
You do. By the way, I need a ride home from work today. So
I got you.
Yeah. Brittany and Thomas have my car. Okay. Yeah. What do you admire most about each of them? By each of them, it means your dad and I.
That's a great question.
Yeah. Is there something that sticks out? And again, if these are like put you on the spot, it's no problems. You can say pass. Like that doesn't make you, we know that there's things that you admire about us. It's not like if you don't have something that jumps out.
Yeah. I'll start with Dad again.
Okay.
I don't know, the thing I admire about him most, actually, I'll start with you because yours is easier.
Okay.
It's definitely how hard you work. You're by far the hardest working person I know.
Excellent.
So that definitely sticks out, and that like I'm trying to like strive to be like that every day, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like let's say I lift, go to the gym, come back, and it's like I don't really want to clean my room. It's like there's always more you can do. Like
mm-hmm.
you can always work harder.
Mm-hmm.
Because I definitely get that from you. Because I remember, I think it was back when we were like moving to Flag, and you were I think someone from KMI got fired and they weren't doing their job, and you were cleaning up like the past 2 months, and you were in the office at like 3 a.m. and you left at like 10 p.m. and it's like, I don't know how you do it, but
it's savage.
Yeah,
it's savage.
It's impressive.
Thank you.
Dad also very hard worker. I'd say you're a harder worker.
We know.
Yeah.
Your dad knows, I know, everybody knows.
But Dad definitely.
And that's okay. He's cuter than I am, so it works out really well.
Yeah, I still admire Dad's hard work and like grit through everything. Mm-hmm. But I'd say the most inspiring about him is just like, I don't know, his like toughness, you know? Mm-hmm. And I feel like recently you've been working on softening him up. But
we don't call it softening. We call it, what did we call it? Crap. Sharpening.
Sharpening.
Not soft. Yeah. You know, like more fine tuning, because he didn't like the softening.
Yeah.
You and I both know it's softening.
Yeah.
So, and he doesn't listen to the podcast, so we can say that here. You know, no one wants to be this, you know, 50, 60-year-old man who's just like, you know, angry and like bitter and pissed off. That's not a good look on anybody, you know? And so know that if you're that guy, you can change. It's okay, you know? So yeah, I work on him.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he can still be like very tough and like still vulnerable and like not softer, but fine-tuned.
Fine-tuned. Yeah. Exactly. We're just fine-tuning your dad. I've got a lot of energy and work into your dad, so I want to keep that going.
Yeah.
So, yeah, pretty fun. What is your favorite thing to do with your parents separately and together as a family?
Can I answer now?
Yeah.
All right. I feel like with Dad, just anything outdoors. Mm-hmm. My favorite thing with him, probably throwing the football.
Yeah, a good one.
Fishing, close second. Mm-hmm. And I'd put hunting at 3. Mm-hmm. Then with you, I don't know. I like just talking to you. I don't know.
Hanging out.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like like I said earlier, with like the memories part, like our conversations are always like really good.
They're excellent,
you know?
right?
They're always pretty in depth, and I feel like just talking to you makes me learn more. Mm-hmm. Even if we're not talking about like informational stuff. Yeah. It helps me learn more like mentally. Mm-hmm. You know.
I was talking with Amanda. You know Amanda at KMI. She's been on the podcast. She was talking about having an exit interview or performance interviews with your kiddos and letting them give you feedback. And so you're coming up to 18. Are there things that you might have suggestions for your dad and I about parenting or advice that you would give to parents in general, right? If you look at your things that your friends have going on with their parents or, you know, things that maybe us as parents are out to lunch about or, you know, do you have any advice for either us specifically as parents or just parents in general of kiddos for how we could be doing things better?
I feel like you and Dad did pretty solid. So I'm going to say this for more general parenting advice. I know we were talking about it earlier on the podcast, but like just installing good like values and morals in your kid. I feel like that's what parenting should be. Is like obviously you're there to like provide for them, but I feel like the more important part is nurturing them and like I'm trying to think of the right way to say it, but just like helping them mentally grow, like not just grow up into adults without any help, you know. I feel like with parents, kind of just teaching their kids about important values, like not to compare themselves to others or just whatever it may be. I feel like just good morals, good values, that's like the most important part as a parent, like most important role. I
look at that and I think a lot of times parents are trying to take away pain for their kiddos or take away uncomfortable stuff. And to me, I don't think you're setting your kids up for success by doing that.
I think you need to have your kids go through those uncomfortable experiences so that they can like grow.
You do.
As a parent and be prepared for the world. Like
well,
as a parent, you're preparing your kid to be a parent, you know, and to grow up and not live at the house and
right. And like, to handle life.
Yeah.
Right? Like I want you to be able to go when you go off, or, you know, the girls and being able to handle things. I want you guys to be able to handle anything that comes your way. And I'm still here. I'm still here to be able to help with things or whatever. But if I spend your entire childhood taking away things that are uncomfortable for you, making certain that no one, you know, looks at you the wrong way or says the wrong thing to you, or that no teachers do anything that might hurt your feelings, or like all of these things, you're not setting your children up to be successful adults. You know, having it set up so that it's like, okay, how did that make you feel? Let's get curious about that. How did you handle that? Yeah. What's the right way? You know, I brag you up all the time about your emotional intelligence and your communication, but I think a big part of that is just the fact that we do talk about everything at our house. And how did that make you feel? Mm-hmm. What did that bring up for you? You know, and really being able to be intelligent about your emotions and why you feel the way that you do about stuff. You know,
that kind of adds on like other advice for parents, like just have like a very honest kind of open household. Like you and dad do a great job of that. Mm-hmm. I feel like I can talk to you guys about anything.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's like a very important thing as a parent, is to like set boundaries with your kids where you guys are comfortable enough to talk about whatever. Mm-hmm. Because it, like being a parent, it shouldn't be like all about making your kids' life like super easy and like spoiling them. It's about, like you said, having them like go through hard experiences so that they can learn and be ready for the real world.
Right. Helping them navigate that stuff, you know, instead of taking everything away so that they don't have to do that. You know, I think as parents, we've done a pretty bang up job overcorrecting for some of our own childhoods, and that's not the right thing either. You know, there has to be a middle ground of allowing your kiddos to still deal with challenges, and how are they going to handle that and really be able to fine tune that stuff, you know, helping them walk through anxiety and do the hard things anyways, even if they're hard, you know. Life isn't easy. No one said it was going to be, you know, so to be able to really help your kiddos navigate whatever it is that they come across, instead of taking it away from them, let them keep it. Help them figure out how to move through that, whatever it looks like. That's the more important thing, I think, you know.
Yeah. So
that's exciting. I would encourage parents, and this will be my may I suggest for this week. Foster a household that is willing to talk about anything.
Yeah.
And be the one that starts with that, you know, be the one that leads with vulnerability with your kiddos. You know, I think
exactly. I think if you want your kids to opening up to them,
you have to.
Like I said earlier, actions speak louder than words. So just telling them isn't going to work, but you actually doing that, opening up, is like, I think that is the most important.
Yeah. No, I will go back to this. This is why we're sitting on this couch and doing these things, is leading with vulnerability is everything. Mm-hmm. And your kids don't need to think that you're perfect and that you did everything right. You know, obviously I'm not faking it very well. You can see you have a front row seat at watching, you know, life as I navigate that. Sometimes it's not pretty, you know, and that's okay, right? I mean, I think it's important not to hide that kind of stuff from you. So, so that's for this week, may I suggest. Fostering with your kiddos more communication at home, whether that's everybody put your phones away for dinner time or whatever that looks like. It can look like different things in everybody's household, but fostering more conversations at home so that your kiddos feel more comfortable. So that's our time for today. Thank you so much, Wiley, for coming and chatting with me. I really appreciate it. For everybody at home, if you have questions or suggestions, send us an email. Our email address is ladies@letsgetnakedpodcast.com. And then please do all the things to support the podcast so that we can reach more people. And that is following, sharing, rating, and reviewing. And with that, we'll catch you next time. That's a wrap. I'd love to help you get vulnerable. Let's get naked.